Ah, Germany. For any tech company, it's pretty much the holy grail of the European market. It's huge, it's robust, and it is famously, notoriously difficult to break into. So today, we're going to tear down a strategic blueprint for how to do it right. This is based on a real-world company that didn't just navigate Germany's insanely complex rules. They actually turned them into their biggest competitive weapon. All right, let's get into it.
So for our case study, we're going to call the company Precision Tech. And their story, honestly, is a masterclass in turning what looks like a barrier into a massive opportunity. Instead of seeing Germany's, obsession with regulation as this giant roadblock, they saw it as a roadmap. They built their entire strategy around it, delivering these incredibly meticulous compliance solutions. They basically turned the market's biggest headache into their #1 strength.
So that's the big question, right? How do you actually do it? Because it's definitely not about just having aggressive sales teams or flashy marketing campaigns. As we're about to see, the real answer, well, it's all about precision, it's about partnership, and it's about proving you're reliable long before you ever even ask for the sale.
Okay, but before we jump into the solution, we really need to understand the problem. And it's something we're calling the German paradox. You've got this market that is just brimming with potential, but it's also surrounded by some of the highest, thickest walls you'll ever find in the business world. This slide just captures that tension perfectly. On one hand, you've got this massive, thriving tech world. I mean, think about it. Over 30,000 companies just in the Microsoft ecosystem alone. But on the other hand, you slam into these barriers. And they're not just random. They're built on this deep cultural need for stability, for predictability. This is not a market you can just muscle your way into. You've got to be smarter. You have to be way more precise.
And here's where it gets really interesting, because Precision Tech didn't just see the walls. They looked for the windows of opportunity. First, there was a huge talent shortage for certified people in the low-code space. Second, the famous German Mittelstand, all those small and medium-sized industrial giants, were, believe it or not, kind of behind digitally. And the third one, this was the real kicker, a whole new wave of EU regulations was coming down. These weren't suggestions, they were strict mandates forcing companies to invest in super secure, traceable IT. The market wasn't just asking for change, it was screaming for provable, compliant solutions.
So, with that insight, what do they do? It's simple, really. If the market's biggest pain is compliance, well, you make compliance the absolute bedrock of your entire offering.
And this was their value proposition. Just look at the words they chose. European, secure, scalable. Notice what's missing? There's no fluff. It's not about digital transformation or disruption. It's about reliability and taking risk off the table, which, trust me, is music to the ears of any German CTO. They boiled this down to 3 pillars. First, schnell, which is German for quick. They promised real, measurable results in just 4 to 8 weeks. No year-long projects. Second, and this was the killer, sicker, or secure. Compliance wasn't some add-on, it was built in from the start, and every single project came with a full compliance pack of documentation. Finally, Europäisch, or European. All the work, all the data, it all stayed right inside the EU, which just wiped a massive legal headache off their clients' plates. Okay, so they had the perfect message, but who exactly were they delivering it to? This is where their strategy went from smart to surgically precise. They didn't just go after everybody. No, they laser-focused on their ideal customer profile, a medium-sized German company already using big systems like SAP and Microsoft, but, and here's the key, they didn't have their own specialized team to handle automation. These companies were that perfect sweet spot, big enough to have the problem, but not big enough to have solved it themselves. So how do you find these perfect fit customers at the exact moment they need you? I'll tell you what they didn't do. They didn't just start spamming inboxes or making 1,000 cold calls a day. They used something much smarter. They called them hot triggers. These are basically public smoke signals that a company has an immediate need. For example, a company puts out a press release saying they have to comply with a new regulation like DORA. Ding, 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 that's a trigger. Or they post a job looking for a Power Platform developer. That's another trigger. It tells you they're trying and failing to find the talent. They would see that signal and then reach out with a very specific technical offer that solved that exact problem. It's genius. And that brings us to the final piece of this puzzle, how they actually got their foot in the door. You have to remember, German business runs on established relationships and networks. A direct, head-on assault would have been a complete disaster.
So they chose collaboration over competition. I mean, they understood that trying to go head-to-head with the big, established German IT companies would be a slow, expensive, and probably losing fight. So they thought, why fight them? Let's join them.
And here's how they did it. They became the specialist partner. For all those German IT companies that had the client relationships but didn't have the certified tech staff, Precision Tech became their secret weapon in the background, often delivering the work under the partner's own brand. They also plugged into Microsoft's official partner network to co-sell solutions. And the secret to making it all work financially? They ran the entire operation from a central, cost-effective hub in Spain. That gave them quality control, consistency, and scalability.
So, after all that, what can we learn from this? Because the Precision Tech story really isn't just about Germany. It's a fantastic blueprint for how to get into any complex, mature market.
So here it is, the blueprint. Number 1, buy their confidence, not their business. Lead with anything and everything that reduces their risk. 2, reputation comes first. Build legitimacy before you start selling. 3, use proof, not pitches. Show them you can do it with short, fixed-price pilots. 4, partner up. Don't be a competitor. Be the indispensable, specialized resource. And 5, speak the language of precision. Cut the marketing hype. Be technical, be sober, be exact.
And that really leaves us with one final, big question for all of our own businesses. In a world that is just full of noise and promises, are we building our strategies on that, on vague promises, or are we building them on the kind of provable, documented precision that actually earns real trust? It's definitely something to think about.